demolish this flip sled, and it's no surprise that they're leading with her first.
And then on the left side of your screen is Kristen Holta, who retired from individual competition, but competing on a team here. She'll be with Team Krieger.
Some keys to the event, obviously lead with strength. You know, you want to get your prize pony out of the stable first, let them run with nobody in front of them, and then obviously no misses on the double unders, especially with that penalty coming into play about getting your athletes through the 100 each. You want to make sure you minimize misses, because that could be costly, especially if you're going to have to sit out a round.
Lena Richter on the left side of your screen will be the first woman out for Team Krieger. Taylor Williamson is the lead athlete for Mayfem in lane number 6.
It's nice to see an all-Norwegian team. You know, obviously we know Kristen Holta, but she's been kind of the flag bearer for this Norwegian contingent that has really started to show up in recent years, putting multiple individual athletes at the games. Team Oslo Wolfpack podiumed, became the first European team to podium at the CrossFit Games, and we're now starting to see a tremendous amount of talent come out of the Scandinavia region.
Lane 3 Invictus, they have their first athlete onto the GHDs. Now, more teams sending their first athletes through. 30 GHDs to complete, 440 pounds on that flip sled as Haley Adams is onto the double unders. And when it comes to GHDs, I mean, I think that you have to do that like 100 just to walk in the door at Mayhem.
Oh, I mean, I worked out with Rory McKernan last night, and as a finisher, he said, hey, how about we just toss a little 100 GHD sit-ups in there? And I said, is that like a badge of honor at Mayhem? He said, absolutely. They do a ton of midline work, so they're right at home on the GHD machine.
Taylor Williamson just about done with her first set. And she and Lena Richter will be the first two women to that sled. And down in lane number 3, Invictus is flipping that thing as well.
Interesting that Mayfem put Haley Adams second, so there's a possibility that they're expecting to maybe not make it all the way through. I mean, with their individual capacities, I expect them to be fine. The only reason you would put Haley is if there's a potential that they don't get through the minimum work requirement, it would be Haley's round where she's the lead athlete that they would have to sit out.
Looked like it was Devin Kim who was on the flip sled for Invictus. She's on the left side of your screen. Lena Richter for Krieger is in the lead as Taylor Williamson is just keeping an eye on her and gets to work on her next flip. Williamson in the black top and green shorts for Mayfem. Richter's got to be careful here. She's really encroaching on Williamson's territory. Now she gets it sorted out. The two of them are right next to each other. And a couple lanes down, Born Primitive Underdogs. They're towards the lead as well. So your leaders right now, Team Krieger, Mayfem, and the Born Primitive Underdogs.
And this is where individual capacity pays out, because look at Haley Adams as the second athlete, able to get to the sled before the second athlete from Team Krieger and able to lend a hand there, give Taylor Williamson a nice little break. And Haley, you know, brute strength has not been something that she excels at, but so far she's handling the load of that flip sled quite well.
Andrea Nissler is on her GHDs, and you saw Ingrid Odenmeyer for Team Krieger. She's now helping out Lena Richter with those flips. Haley Adams is working with Taylor Williamson as Mayfem has now pulled in front. Keep in mind, it's the number of flips here, so sometimes the distance can be a little bit deceiving. But Mayfem, the pair of Taylor Williamson and Haley Adams, doing a nice job trading back and forth as they work their way back down the floor. The duo of Lena Richter and Ingrid Odenmeyer are right behind them.
And interesting that in the previous heats we saw most teams going, you know, you go, I go. We even saw Training Think Tank do 2-to-1 for their top two athletes. But Mayfem, for the most part, was doing sets of 3. Taylor did a set of 3. Haley did a set of 3. And now they get to add Andrea Nissler to the group, having all 3 athletes at once. We haven't seen this from pretty much any team so far.
Kristen Holta has now joined Lena Richter on the sled. There on the top of your screen, and you saw Ingrid Odenmeyer running back to the GHDs. Krieger choosing to rest one of their athletes. Now Holta heading back as the time cap is hit, but Mayfem way out in front. Thanks to the efforts of Haley Adams and Taylor Williamson, Andrea Nisler was able to get there as well. And now we have the 1 minute break before we start the second round. And remember, if you did not get through your buy-in work in round 1, you have to sit out round 2.
Even just looking at the body language of those top 2 teams, time cap is up. Holta, Adams, the rest of the Mayhem crew just immediately start marching back to the start mat as if it's nothing. You talk about what it looks like to be a professional and have that capacity in your back pocket. Even just the body language of getting set quickly. Those are little mind game things that, you know, if you're a competing team against them, it's tough to watch sometimes.
Born Primitive underdogs who were towards the front of that round, they did get all 3 of their athletes through, so they will be able to work here in round 2. And now round 2 has begun. It's going to be Ingrid Odenmeyer for Team Krieger out first, and then Haley Adams for Mayfem. The only team that didn't make it through all the work was the Born Primitive underdogs. So they apparently did not get all their athletes through. Born Primitive, we thought they did, but they did not. So they will have to sit out this round. Fleo in lane 1 and also Junk in lane 4. They are sitting this round out.
Look at the double under technique. We've seen in some of the earlier heats, athletes that aren't familiar with the heavy rope, their hands start to flare out, get a little bit more out in front of them, really having to use the shoulder muscles a little bit more. You can see Haley and both the Team Krieger athlete, hands close to their sides, shoulders nice and relaxed, saving a ton of energy.
Haley Adams and Ingrid Odenmeyer onto the GHDs. Now in lane 7, Team GoWad.
Look at the pace of the GHDs on Haley. She is just absolutely flying.
I believe that's Solvik Sigurdardottir on the right side of your screen for GoWad. 2 European teams in Mayfem now in the lead here in round number 2. 1 more round after this. The 11-minute mark is when they'll stop this round. Andrea Nisler is onto the double unders, and Taylor Williamson, who was the first athlete out in round number 1, is now going to be running the anchor leg in this round.
And Ingrid from Krieger got to the GHD a few reps ahead of Haley, and Haley just absolutely put the gas down on those set of 30, and she picked up maybe 5 reps total.
Now Haley Adams getting to work on the flip sled. Ingrid Odenmeyer is on the upper left-hand part of your screen for Team Krieger. And now Solvik Sigurdardottir, who just left view on the upper left part of your screen for Team GoWad, will begin her flips. Haley Adams will continue to work, and she will wait for Andrea Nisler to provide her with some assistance here.
Little miscommunication there, and you know, we talk about Haley, you know, brute strength being one of the things that she's not the best at, but she does do all right with some of the odd object stuff. You know, we saw the pig flips at the game. She finished 5th at that event. So when you do mix it in with a variety of other things, she is able to compensate properly and still perform well.
And now on the left side of your screen, Kristen Holta has joined Ingrid Odenmeyer on the flips. They have 2 athletes working to just Haley Adams for Mayfem. And Andrea Nisler is continuing to work through her GHDs and looking right at her judge as she's doing it, just to make sure the count is right. So 4 remaining for Nisler, and then she'll be able to help out Haley Adams as Taylor Williamson is onto the GHDs. Team GoWad is starting to catch up with Krieger. Put a little heat on them for 2nd place right now. Krieger has made the turn, so Gowad has about another couple flips remaining before they will head back as well.
And even though they may not catch the top two for Gowad, remember the last heat, the furthest any team got was down and back and just barely made the turn there. So, you know, they may not get the top spot, but they're in a solid spot to maybe have a top 3 finish overall for this event.
100 points for the winner, 97 for second, and 94 for third. As Haley Adams and Andrea Nisler are trying to hold off the duo of Ingrid Odenmeyer and Kristen Holta, who are threatening to make it a lot closer than it was going into this round. And now the onus is on Taylor Williamson and Lena Richter to finish all the work so they can continue to work in round number 3. So Williamson is through. Mayfem will work in all 3 of their rounds. And Richter on the GHDs looks like she finished all her reps. She's in the background there by the clock. The round is done, so she was resting instead of wasting time and joining her 2 teammates on the flip sled. So it looks like Krieger also got all 3 of their athletes through the buy-in work. Let's go back down to Jamie Higia.
There truly is no place to hide in this workout. Sometimes if you have an athlete not as efficient in some movements, you can put them in the back. They won't have to do any of the work. But this time, because it is changing the order and there is a cap, every single athlete has to get through all 100 double unders, 30 GHD sit-ups over those 3 rounds. It all adds up. So not so much of a team camaraderie thing in this thing. You need strong individuals as well.
Now Nisler will be out front for Mayfem first.
And although it doesn't look like Mayfem might get caught, one thing to note, right at the buzzer that last round, Taylor Williamson ran to the turnaround point, caught the rep off of the bounce, and got it up before the time cap just to get one last rep in. That's situational awareness as a member of a team that can pay dividends when things come down to a single rep.
Alexis Detroit is on the left side of your screen for Junk. They had to sit out the last round.
For all the athletes that did have to sit out, you know, they got to have their eyes set squarely on the second turnaround point after that down and back, because, you know, those are the teams that they're chasing from the previous heats that were the top performers.
Meanwhile, Team Gowad in lane 7, they are sitting this one out as well. And that's good news for Krieger because Gowad was trying to catch them for second place in this heat.
It's also good news for all the teams that sat out that second round, because we saw that the teams that went back-to-back for their 2 out of 3 rounds that they ended up tackling didn't do as well as the teams that sat out the second, came back for the third, and were able to attack that last round with some rest.
Andrea Nisler taking some breaks. Slovak Sugardottir right there, who was able to get some flip sled reps accomplished in the prior round.
Sol, part of the Icelandic contingent. She's been on a games team for a few years out of Reykjavik.
Carolyn Prevost's on the left side of your screen. She's on her double unders, and notoriously a movement that she struggles with. It's sort of hard to tell who is in the lead here because both Mayfem and Krieger were going from the bottom of your screen to the top, where a lot of other teams are moving from the top to the bottom. So sleds scattered everywhere here in this third and final round. Final heat, too, for the opening event for the elite female teams.
And this is maybe where the order pays off here. You know, Krieger a few sled flips behind Mayfem, but Krieger gets the benefit of leading with the 4th fittest woman on earth, Kristen Holta, right now, and she is well ahead of Andrea Nisler. So it's possible that by, you know, a little bit of strategy and placing one of their best athletes towards the back, they can actually, you know, make up some ground and potentially take over the top spot.
Kristen Holta with this flip looks like she will tie Mayfem.
So like I mentioned, Mayfem got that one turnaround rep at the buzzer because of some situational awareness from Taylor Williamson. So if this is close, that could be the difference because, I mean, right now they're neck and neck.
And this number of flips completed as Kristen Holta continues to work. And by distance right now, they have the lead over Mayfem. Alexis Dutois, who's on the right of your screen, is essentially a lap behind the two leaders as Andrea Nisler is just now getting to the sled. So Kristen Holta doing some great work for her team to put them in front of Mayfem. About 90 seconds to go before we hit that time cap. And Kristen Holta continuing to work here. Now Nisler on the left side of your screen, looking to regain the lead from Kristen Holta and Team Krieger.
And it's tough for Kristen because obviously she doesn't have eyes on the back of her head. But I might be turning to look to peek just a little bit to make sure that, you know, I'm not giving up any ground to Andrea. Making sure, yep, you saw it right there. She turned her head just to make sure that her hands are on the sled, my hands are on the sled.
Lena Richter needs to get through the GACs to help Kristen Holta. And you saw Ingrid Odenmeyer yell at her, be like, you got to get going. Let's get this work done because Kristen needs help. Kristen, though, right now is holding off Andrea Nisler. Carolyn Prevo helping out Alexis Dutois. "30 seconds to go. Now here comes Taylor Williamson to help out Andrea Nisler. But Holta is not moving as quickly as Williamson, but she does have a lead. 15 seconds to go. Oh, and we have to see what the official count is here. But Holta about a rep ahead by distance of Williamson. Final seconds. Williamson, don't know if that one's going to count. Holta's will. Oof. And we will have to see if that last rep counts. By distance, they are dead even. But it will come down to the official rep count to see who won the race between Krieger and Mayfem. But what an effort from Kristen Holta there.
Oh, man, and, you know, great strategy from Krieger. You know, a lot of other teams led with strength, which is, you know, in many instances smart, but knowing your teammates and being able to close with someone like Kristen, who may not be as strong on the sled, but has the engine, so there isn't a ton of fall off towards the back end of the workout, she was able to capitalize on that and make up some serious ground and actually overtake the Mayfem team, you know, going into that final minute.
The question is it enough? It's so close out